What if I told you that the reason that you weren't able to continue losing weight had nothing to do with eating too much at the firehouse, and it actually had everything to do with not eating enough? Inside this video, we're going to talk about the hangups that most firefighters come across and where they go wrong in their fat loss journey. Now, this is a concept that honestly surprised me when I first started picking up on it, but the truth is, the more people I had enroll in the Reclaim Firefighter Fitness program, the more I realized it was a bigger issue than I ever imagined. So the truth is, for the last year, about 60 or 70% of the firefighters that we've enrolled, we've actually had to put onto a strategy that had them eating more than what they came in doing. The results of using this strategy in conjunction with a firefighter lifestyle have been second to none, and it's actually the exact same system that I'm going to share with you inside of this video. Now, before we get into the solution, we have to first understand what the problem is in the first place. And to do that, we're going to separate this problem into 4 key areas. Now, if you're a firefighter listening to this, you've probably been at the station when there have been some pretty heavy, calorically dense meals. You've probably never even considered the possibility that undereating might actually be your problem because of some of the lifestyle factors that go into being a firefighter in the fire service, especially if you're from a southern state or out in the Midwest. Firehouse meals often get blamed, but what if I told you that the real problem, the real culprit, was inconsistency? And by that, I mean you try to double back and overcorrect, especially when you take in your caloric consumption over the course of an entire week, rather than just focusing on one meal at a time. This is incredibly important because actual change happens on longer time horizons. Any one meal is not going to make a drastic difference in your life. It is about the consistency and the longevity of the habit that you have instilled over time. And that leads us into the second part of this problem, which is the extreme overcorrections. These overcorrections can take on many different forms, but they usually look like something extreme, like a ketogenic diet, carnivore, diet shakes, completely fasting for 24 hours or longer. You name it, there is an approach for it. And the problem is that all of them are promising results. And the thing is, even more deceptive, they might work for a time. And that leads us into point number 3, which is you can do these extreme approaches and they can work for a certain amount of time, but usually between the 3-week to the 3-month mark, you end up hitting a wall. What does this wall look like? Typically, for an average firefighter, it's going to take the form of extreme energy deprivation. Your training will suffer. You end up sleeping like crap. And on top of this, you're not even seeing the progress. So not only do you not feel good, but you have nothing to show for it. So how long is it for most firefighters? Are they going to be willing to tolerate that? Now, what ends up happening is we make a cocktail of being sleep deprived, energy deprived, and nutritionally deprived, and throw our hands to the wind and wonder, why isn't this working for me? All of a sudden, that Taco Bell drive-thru, especially the AM Crunch Wrap, starts to look a lot more enticing. And what do? You do the human thing, which is you rebound. You break down, you fall out, you spiral. And usually this spiral isn't just one moment. At least it never was for me. One bad day turns into one bad week, turns into a few bad months. We completely fall off the horse and we lose track altogether. So what ends up happening? You lose 20 pounds just to rebound and gain 30 back. And then we rinse and repeat this cycle over and over again, sometimes over the course of years. And every single time we repeat the exact same actions, which is I just have to be more disciplined, I have to be more locked in, I have to be more strict, and then continue to produce the same result over and over and over again. With each time, let's be honest, it's harder to start back up again the next time. Every time you just tell yourself to keep eating less, to be more strict, to be more disciplined, when the answer is none of those things. And in fact, if you keep relying on that strategy, not only will you continue to get the same result over time, but you will find it harder to keep coming back to it over and over again until one day you may just give up completely. So why don't we talk about how to make sure that that doesn't actually happen? What if instead of being more disciplined, you actually found out that your problem was that you were metabolically adapted to chronically undereating, maybe for years, maybe for decades? When you eat like this, whether it's intentional or unintentional, it slows your recovery among a ton of other things. This decreases your energy level, decreases your performance, and honestly is a form of malnourishment. Over time, this leaves you put into a situation where you can eat very little and still not lose any fat. Why? Because you cannot lose weight forever, because you have biological mechanisms built into you from evolution that are there to stop you from starvation. You cannot eat the same amount for the entire course of time and expect to continue to lose weight, because then you would die. So there are mechanisms built into your biology to normalize your body. If you are an EMT or a paramedic, what I'm referring to is your body finds homeostasis with your calories. That's all your body cares about. It doesn't want to gain weight and it doesn't want to lose weight. What it wants is to maintain and to have a pattern and have predictability. Over the course of time, if you are chronically under eating, then your body will eventually normalize to that amount of calories by lowering your BMR, lowering your metabolism to match it. Its only goal is to match the stimulus. And what you need to do and take away from this video before anything else is realize that calories, like anything else in the world, to your body are a form of stimulus. So on the first part of this solution, you have to understand is we have to repair your metabolism. We have to bring it back up to what a healthy, appropriate baseline is before we can focus on going back to losing fat. So the first step before we do anything else is you have to establish what that baseline is in the first place. If you've just been winging it, eating food at random, trying to eat less, trying to do an extreme approach like carnivore or keto, and you're wondering, why the hell do I have to count my calories? It's because you need to know where you stand in the first place. You need to know where your actual starting point is before you try to change anything. So that means you got to learn how to count your calories. You got to learn what have I been eating and consuming without trying to change or control for anything. And yes, this means you need to weigh your food and have a way to track it so that you have data to look at and say, okay, after a week of eating, when I average it all out, what does it look like? After that, you need to begin the reverse dieting process, which takes us into step 2. Now, reverse dieting is the process of gradually increasing your calories over time. The way that we handle this in Reclaim is we add 5% of whatever your base calories are every single week. You continue to add this number until you get to your goal weight times the number 15. The reason that we go up slowly is because it gives your body the actual time to adapt. Let's say that you're operating at a baseline of 1,500 calories, but you should be at 2,100 calories to have a healthy baseline. You could make the decision tomorrow to eat 2,100 calories, but the problem is your body can't catch up at the rate that you can make a decision. Your body adapts to stimulus slowly. If you understand this, then you can gradually increase your calories over the course of 6 weeks and get there without gaining any weight in the process, even though you're eating more. I have a lot of clients, even in this phase, that actually end up losing weight when they're eating 400, 500, 600 more calories than they were when they started. And that leads us to the last point, which is you can actually go into a healthy, moderate deficit afterwards. When you build up a stronger baseline, you then have the opportunity to lower your calories a moderate amount. And truth be told, if this is like a lot of the clients that I've worked with, you actually eat still more calories than what you started at before your reverse diet. You have an example of one person who came in eating 1,400 calories. We had to bump them up to 2,400, and then they lost weight in the process. Then they lost even more when we bumped them down to 1,900 for them to lose weight. So they went from 1,400 not losing anything to eating 1,900 calories and weight falling off them like crazy. The number that you need to eat at for your deficit is going to be your goal body weight times the number 13, but only when you start from a healthy baseline in the first place. Now, this is a strategy that we've used for a ton of our clients, but if you need a couple of examples, we could talk about Jeff, who is a Wisconsin firefighter, came in just like so many others, not eating enough, ended up losing weight throughout the course of his program, and now has a baseline to take care of himself and show up, lead from the front at his department for the rest of his career. Or we could talk about Monica. She is a Utah-based firefighter. Same story, didn't know what was going on, couldn't understand how to lean up or even put on a little muscle in the process, and found out that she hadn't been eating enough. So we gave her the reverse dieting strategy, and now she's stronger than she's ever been, slimmed down her waistline, but also added to every single lift that she has to do and is more confident than ever. Lastly, we could talk about Gail, who was chronically under eating for years at a rate that he didn't even realize. And he's a captain out in the Bay Area in California. Now he's down weight, eating more than he ever had before, and has the energy and abundance to actually lead his team from the front the way that he wants to. I'm linking all the testimonials for these separate clients inside this video if you want to go check them out. All right, hopefully I've convinced you that maybe your problem isn't not eating enough, working out more, eating less. Maybe it's that you have to eat and nourish yourself and recover a little bit harder in the process. Now, here's the thing. If you want access to the same protocols that Monica, Jeff, and Gail all got started with, I'm going to leave them in the description below. It's actually a free 12-week Firefighter fat loss protocol that I designed after I had my own issues with the very same topic when I was a firefighter. Now, here's the thing that you have to understand. This is not a magic pill. This is not something that you can just download and look at and think about and, oh, that's nice. All three of those people and the many other clients that we've had success with, they had one thing in common, which was they were willing to get down and dirty. They were willing to get into the mud. They were willing to do the work to make it happen. So if that sounds like you, then you will benefit from this. And maybe we can even talk about coaching. But if you're the kind of person that expects things to be fed to you and you just like to idealize and talk about things rather than do them, then sincerely stay away from me and my program, even the free protocol. Lastly, I'll leave you with the most important thing, which is remember, being in shape is part of the uniform. And the only person that can do anything about that is you. Until next time.